A private jet lands on an isolated airstrip. As the door opens and a prominent oligarch emerges, a single, well-aimed bullet strikes him in the head, killing him instantly. The lethal shot was delivered by an expert sniper who had spent 10 days concealed in a remote cave, meticulously planning and waiting for this exact opportunity. After the shot, the sniper collects the empty shell casing, reflecting on the life she just ended. Somewhere in the West, a man named Levi wakes up from a troubling dream. Unable to fall back asleep, he gets into his car and drives through the night, eventually arriving at a quiet beach. As the sun begins to rise, he jots down thoughts in his journal and observes a cheerful couple strolling with their playful dog. Their serene lives stand in sharp contrast to his own isolated life. A message pings on his phone, calling him to report to the Marine Corps base. With no ties to keep him grounded, no family, no partner, no commitments, he leaves without a second thought. At the base, Levi is led to the office of Agent Bartholomew, a senior official who believes she has him figured out. She's wrong. While Levi is indeed an elite sniper, the file she holds credits him with 113 confirmed kills, an impressive number. But Levi knows the true count far exceeds what any record shows. Despite his flawless track record, a military psychologist declared him unfit for service. Levi, however, remains disciplined. He avoids any substances that could compromise his precision as a sniper. This leaves Agent Bartholomew puzzled as to why he never challenged the decision. But Levi, detached and indifferent, saw no reason to fight it. Recognizing his exceptional skills, his Marine Corps background, and his history of private contracts, Agent Bartholomew views Levi as a rare asset. Now, she presents him with an opportunity. A chance to rejoin active duty for a mission unlike any he's undertaken before. Elsewhere in the east, in a quiet Lithuanian village, Drąsa, the skilled sniper who eliminated the oligarch, meets her father, Eric, at the cemetery where her mother rests. It's the anniversary of her mother's passing, a day they always set aside to spend together. As Eric plays a somber tune by Bach on his accordion, he gently discusses Drąsa's recent mission. He's aware she accepted a contract to take out a Belarusian oligarch. She confesses it wasn't easy. The man had 4 children, but Eric reminds her the oligarch was an arms dealer and countless young lives have been lost because of the weapons he profited from. Without a word, she hands him the spent shell casing from the shot. He tucks it into his wallet alongside others, a ritual they share to absolve her of any lingering guilt. Eric firmly believes his daughter is on the right path. He then shares unsettling news. A drone captured her image during the mission, and the Russian government won't take kindly to the oligarch's death being traced back to them. For her safety, she's been ordered to report to Moscow the next day, where she'll be assigned a mission that will keep her hidden for a year. Eric disapproves, urging her to stay with him instead. After all, she's Lithuanian, not Russian, and owes them nothing. Next, Eric reveals his own decision. His cancer is untreatable, and he refuses to endure a painful end. If he's still alive by Valentine's Day, he plans to take his own life to reunite with his late wife. He makes one final request of Drąsa, wherever she is on February 14th, to light a candle, gaze at the constellation Orion, and bid him farewell. They share a quiet drink together, both aware this could be their final meeting before parting ways. Levi awakens groggily inside an aircraft, his mind foggy from the effects of anesthesia. It's September, and he has no memory of how he got there or where he's headed. A soldier approaches, confiscates his phone, watch, and other personal items, and hands him a sealed envelope containing his mission details. She informs him they're entering a restricted no-fly zone, and that he'll need to parachute down, continuing the rest of the journey on foot. Levi straps on a parachute, grabs the assigned gear, and jumps from the plane. After landing safely, he begins a painful trek across diverse landscapes, scaling mountains, navigating dense forests, and camping under the stars. Eventually, he arrives at the edge of a vast, ominous gorge. At the gorge, Levi is met by a soldier named Jasper, who has been stationed at the outpost for a year. Jasper, having spent the last 12 months in isolation, is extremely happy to see Levi. When Levi asks where they are, Jasper admits he doesn't know either. He explains that his one-year assignment is over and it's now Levi's turn to take over. Jasper leads him to the West Tower, a fully self-sufficient outpost that will serve as Levi's home for the next year. The tower is equipped with solar panels, a backup generator, a rainwater collection system, a vegetable garden, and ample wildlife for hunting. Across the gorge stands an identical tower, occupied by a soldier from the Eastern Bloc. Contact between the two sides is strictly prohibited. The gorge itself is surrounded by landmines and tactical barriers, making it impossible to cross. As Jasper gives Levi a tour, he outlines the mission. Each day, Levi must patrol the western perimeter, restock ammunition in the automated gun turrets, positioned every 600 meters, and inspect the containment fence, suspended mines, and cloaking devices. The cloakers emit false signals to satellites, rendering the gorge invisible to surveillance. A radio check occurs every 30 days, but otherwise, communication with the outside world is forbidden. In emergencies, there's a panic button that activates the stray dog protocol. Jasper doesn't know what the protocol entails, but warns Levi to flee if he ever hears air sirens. Jasper explains that the outpost dates back to the Cold War. Military teams from various nations agreed to keep its existence a secret, so secret that even world leaders are unaware of it. Levi's mission is straightforward, to ensure nothing escapes the gorge. It sounds absurd, and Jasper once thought so too, until he encountered what the guards call the Hollow Men. To demonstrate, Jasper tosses a small device into the gorge. Levi is horrified as blood-curdling screams erupt from below. Jasper recounts that in the late 1940s, 3 horseback battalions, 2,400 soldiers, were sent into the gorge to clear it out, but none returned. Since then, the focus has shifted to containment rather than exploration. Jasper admits much of what he knows comes from stories passed down by his predecessor, which may have been distorted over time. He personally believes the gorge is an entrance to hell, and they are guarding its gates. Levi is left uneasy and confused, but Jasper assures him this is all the information he has. After saying their goodbyes, Jasper heads to the extraction point, where a helicopter is supposed to pick him up. As the aircraft appears, it lowers a cable. Jasper climbs aboard, but as he confirms his identity, a soldier shoots him dead and dumps his body overboard. The soldier coldly reports to Bartholomew that the rotation is complete. A month goes by, and Levi remains dedicated to his responsibilities. He conducts daily patrols, ensures the security systems are operational, and completes his mandatory radio check-ins every 30 days. The voice on the other end simply asks if everything is normal and disconnects before Levi can inquire further. During his downtime, he turns to reading. The tower is stocked with a wide selection of books. While browsing the shelves, he stumbles upon notes left by previous watchers. One message, written by Bradford, the tower's first watcher in 1947, encourages him to push boundaries and discover limits. Occasionally, Levi tends to the garden, gathering the last of the season's harvest. One afternoon, as Levi works, he hears the distinct sound of a saw coming from the opposite side of the gorge. Peering through his binoculars, he spots a woman, Drossa, chopping wood. On her side, Drossa also notices movement and tries to get a better look at her counterpart. When she sees him step away, she simply returns to her task without further interest. That night, a clap of thunder from a storm jolts Levi awake from a nightmare. Disoriented and panicked, he mistakes the noise for an attack, grabs his rifle, and accidentally shatters a glass. Only when he feels a sharp pain in his foot does he realize he's stepped on the broken shards. The bloody footprints on the floor slowly bring him back to reality. After removing the glass from his foot, he picks up his binoculars and notices Drossa, who is also awake on the other side of the gorge. When she catches him watching, she quietly blows out her candles and retreats further into her room. Another month goes by. It's now November, and Drossa marks her birthday alone. Bored and restless, she fires a shot into the air to grab Levi's attention. When he looks through his binoculars, she holds up a sign asking for his name. Levi warns her that communication is against the rules, but Drossa shrugs it off. She writes her name on the sign and, since it's her birthday, declares she'll do as she likes. Levi chuckles, writes his name on a piece of paper, and suggests they share a drink to celebrate her birthday. Drossa turns on some music and playfully invites him to dance, but Levi insists he doesn't know how. She refuses to believe him. There must be something he's good at. Levi admits he's a skilled sniper. Drossa demands proof. Levi places his flask on the edge of the parapet, intending to shoot it, but Drossa beats him to it, knocking it off with a precise shot of her own. In retaliation, Levi takes aim and shatters her bottle of wine. Drossa, amused, balances another bottle on her head and dares him to try again. But as she teases him, she momentarily loses her balance. Startled, she quickly removes the bottle herself and gestures for Levi to look down into the gorge. Levi gazes into the darkness and soon notices movement. Bizarre, tree-like creatures scaling the wall on his side of the gorge. He opens fire, causing one of the beings to fall onto a mine and explode. He manages to take down most of the climbers, but a few persist, continuing their ascent. Levi keeps shooting. On her side, Drossa joins the fight, unleashing her machine gun to help Levi eliminate the remaining creatures. Together, they dispatch several of the monsters, and an eerie silence follows. Suddenly, Drasa hears a faint noise from her end and realizes something is approaching. As she steps back from the edge, hands with branch-like fingers grip the ledge. A woody creature attempts to crawl onto her balcony. It takes multiple bullets before it finally releases its grip and plummets back into the gorge. Levi quickly understands that the hollow men are attacking her side as well. He provides cover, firing his rifle across the gorge to help her fend them off. Another creature falls onto a mine, triggering an explosion that sends shrapnel flying. Drasa is struck in the shoulder and thrown to the ground. Levi immediately shifts to covering her with machine gun fire, just as she had done for him moments earlier. Despite her injury, Drasa refuses to stop. She knows they are the last line of defense between these creatures and the rest of the world. As the hollow men begin climbing both walls simultaneously, Levi and Drasa coordinate their efforts, using their machine guns to hold them back. Mines detonate along the edge of the gorge as the creatures fall onto them or are hit by bullets. The automated turrets also activate when a hollow man crosses their sensors, turning the area into a chaotic war zone with bullets flying in every direction. This time, they succeed in eliminating all the monsters, and the assault finally ends. Drasa stumbles back, sitting in the darkness to tend to her wound and collect herself, while Levi remains vigilant, keeping watch. By dawn, Drasa writes a message to Levi, telling him it was the best birthday she's ever had. Later that morning, Levi works on repairing his side of the gorge, welding gaps in the fences damaged during the night's battle, and laying additional mines. Out of nowhere, a small missile-like drone emerges from the depths of the gorge. The automated turret on Levi's side immediately reacts, and Drasa, watching from her post, trains her sniper rifle on it, ready to take it down. Levi watches nervously as the drone flies off into the distance, vanishing from sight. The strange encounter leaves both of them puzzled, adding to the unsettling mystery of their isolated outposts. By December, Levi spends his free time on routine chores, while Drasa fills the quiet hours by playing the piano. One day, Levi decides to bring a touch of holiday spirit to their grim surroundings. He strings lights around a tree in the forest, creating a makeshift Christmas tree, and sets up a sign for Drasa to see. Inspired by his gesture, Drasa responds with her own decorations. Together, they build snowmen, naming them after each other, and share drinks as if celebrating with their frosty companions. This light-hearted exchange brings them closer, despite the gorge that separates them. As time goes on, their bond deepens. They begin playing chess, calling out their moves to each other, and keeping a close eye to ensure no one cheats. One evening, they engage in a drum battle, using pots and whatever else they can find as makeshift instruments. The rhythmic beats echo across the gorge, a testament to their growing friendship. Months pass, and their connection strengthens through these shared moments. Though the gorge keeps them physically apart, their companionship offers a rare sense of warmth and solidarity in their otherwise lonely watch. February arrives. Levi wakes from another nightmare and steps out onto the balcony, where the wind howls fiercely. He notices Drasa is also awake, and for a moment, both silently wish they could be closer to each other. The next morning, Drasa skips her usual patrol. It's February 14th, the day her father had planned to end his life. Instead, she plays her father's favorite Bach record, staring at their photograph as tears stream down her face. When Levi notices her absence and her somber mood, he asks what's wrong. Drasa opens up, sharing that it's a difficult day for her, and that she wishes he could be there with her. Her words spark an idea in Levi. Inspired by a quote scrawled on the wall by a past guard, "Only those who dare to go too far can discover how far they can go," Levi gets to work. Using tools from the armory, he modifies a grenade launcher to fire a rocket across the gorge, with a rope attached. The rocket lodges itself in a tree on Drasa's side, but also ignites a small fire. Drasa rushes to put out the flames and notices the rope. She secures it firmly to the tree before returning to her tower, where she finds Levi's note inviting her to dinner. Levi cleans himself up, gathers a bouquet of wildflowers, and launches himself onto the rope to cross the gorge. Midway, he gets stuck and has to use his gloved hands to pull himself along. Finally, he reaches Drasa's tower and presents her with the flowers. She teases him about smelling sweaty from the effort and suggests he take a shower. While he's washing up, Drasa takes his uniform and replaces it with some nicer clothes left behind by a previous occupant. She hangs them just out of reach, playfully forcing him to scramble around naked to get dressed. Drasa watches the scene unfold on the CCTV, a smile spreading across her face. Over dinner, Levi and Drasa delve into their pasts as mercenaries, reflecting on how the job has shaped their minds. They swap childhood stories, Levi recounts growing up in Oregon, where his father taught him to shoot and instilled in him a love for marksmanship. He reveals he's one of the top 5 snipers in the world, and Drasa immediately connects him to the legendary shot in Yemen. Levi then asks the inevitable question, what is the Gorge, and what are the Hollow Men? Drasa hesitates, recalling her father's advice to avoid seeking the full truth, as it often brings pain. The evening is filled with music, dancing, and laughter, and under the stars, they grow closer, eventually spending the night together. Levi even admits he wrote a poem for her but only shares its title, refusing to recite it. The next morning, Levi prepares to return to his tower the same way he came. As he slides along the rope, the Hollow Men reappear on his side of the gorge, triggering a mine that causes a massive explosion. The blast severs the rope, and Levi plummets into the thick fog below. Thankfully, he deploys a parachute just in time, saving himself from a fatal fall. Determined to rescue Levi, Drasa rushes to her armory, grabbing weapons and a parachute. She leaps into the gorge, descending through dense fog before crashing into a raging river. The current sweeps her downstream, and her parachute snags on a rock, forcing her to cut it loose. Struggling to stay afloat, she hits another rock and accidentally drops an auto-ascender. Exhausted, she manages to grab onto a tree stump and drag herself to shore. Meanwhile, Levi hangs unconscious, upside down from a massive tree. A branch begins to move, revealing itself as a monstrous, centipede-like creature crawling toward him. He wakes just in time, firing his gun and killing it. The recoil sends him tumbling. Before he can recover, something reaches up from below. Long, finger-like projections wrap around him, pulling him into a sticky, adhesive substance. It's the mouth of another monster, slowly consuming him. Drasa hears the gunfire and races toward the sound. She arrives just in time, firing multiple shots at the creature and freeing Levi. After cutting the sticky substance off Levi's body with a knife, the two begin their journey back to the wall to find the rope. Suddenly, they hear screeching, and 2 Hollow Men on horseback emerge. The riders attack with swords, and one leaps off its horse to tackle Drasa. She stabs it in the neck with a knife, causing it to fall, and then shoots it in the face. The other rider disarms Levi with a whip, but he pulls out his pistol, swiftly killing both the horse and the rider. After the fight, Drasa checks her bag and realizes the auto-ascender is gone, lost in the river. With the walls towering 500 meters above them, climbing is impossible. She suggests following the river, hoping it leads to an exit. Levi examines one of the creature's bodies and notices it's wearing an old military uniform, British SAS from the 1940s. Another creature bears a Soviet uniform. Levi theorizes that these must be the remains of the cavalrymen who disappeared in the 1940s, men who should have been long dead by now. Shaken by the discovery, they begin their journey, moving through the eerie, fog-shrouded forest. The twisted trees and shrubs seem to incorporate human shapes, adding to the horror. Along the way, they find hundreds of skeletons, a grim testament to the fate of those who entered the gorge. Despite the terrifying surroundings, Levi and Drasa press on, determined to find a way out. Eventually, they come across partially collapsed structures, likely damaged by seismic activity. Hearing the Hollow Men approaching, they take refuge in a building that resembles a church. Inside, they find pews still intact, with human remains scattered among them. Levi picks up a small empty case and detects a familiar odor, cyanide. He deduces that the people here chose to end their lives, rather than face whatever horrors lurked outside. As they explore further, a sudden noise alerts them. Drasa looks up to see a massive spider-like creature with a skull-like head dropping from above. She shoves it away and falls to the ground, only to see another spider lunging at her. She stabs it, while 2 more spiders attack Levi, who quickly shoots them down. Soon, dozens of spiders surround them. Both soldiers fire relentlessly, taking out as many as they can. Drasa runs out of bullets, and Levi pulls her to safety, giving her a chance to reload. They make a break for the door, but at that moment, Hollow Men burst in, forcing them to split their focus between the spiders and the new threat. One Hollow Man nearly overpowers Drasa, but she frees herself, slams its head against a table, and throws it aside, causing the spiders to swarm it. Levi, meanwhile, struggles in close combat with several creatures, but eventually manages to shoot them down. Drasa then fires a grenade at the back wall, blasting a massive hole that allows them to escape the nightmarish scene. Drasa suggests staying close to the gorge wall, where at least they won't be attacked from behind. They run toward it and discover a door carved into the rock. They decide to go in, and catch a brief rest. Within, they find an abandoned laboratory facility, overgrown with plants and filled with chemical compounds and skeletal remains. As they explore further, they realize this was once a military lab. While searching, Levi stumbles upon a reel of film, and Drasa locates a generator. Despite its age, she manages to get it running, and the lights flicker on. Levi finds a projector, and they watch the film. The footage features a lab worker explaining that near the end of World War II, a secret coalition of Eastern and Western nations operated this facility. While Oppenheimer developed the nuclear bomb, this lab was creating a chemical warhead of unparalleled destructive power. However, a massive earthquake struck the gorge, destroying the lab and releasing a biochemical contaminant. This toxin fused human DNA with plants, animals, and insects, transforming people into monsters. The worker notes that brief exposure to the toxin isn't harmful, but prolonged contact causes mutations. Some individuals, however, are resistant. If no changes appear within 5 days, they're immune. The woman on the film displays horrifying mutations, with branches growing from her stomach as proof. The scientist pleads for forgiveness, hoping for divine mercy. As the film ends, moving deeper into the lab, they find a room equipped with modern technology, clearly not from the mid-20th century. This suggests the lab was operational until recently, and that its operators had no intention of eradicating the threat within the gorge. Levi powers up a computer and discovers the name of a militarized organization, Dark Lake. He realizes they weren't working for the military, but for a private company specializing in genetic research, a wealthy and powerful one. Accessing the files, they learn Dark Lake has been secretly extracting samples from the creatures in the gorge, using drones like the one Levi had seen earlier. Their goal is to engineer super soldiers from the mutated beings. The towers and hired guards serve to maintain the secrecy of their operations. On the computer, Levi also uncovers the meaning of the stray dog protocol. Remembering Jasper's warning, he realizes it refers to a nuclear bomb designed to destroy the gorge in the event of a containment breach. The system is programmed to activate automatically if the cloakers fail, and the safe distance from the explosion is 4.2 kilometers. All these only make Levi feel uneasy. He confesses to Drasa that even if they don't survive, meeting her has made everything worth it. As they prepare to leave, Drasa realizes her bag, containing all their ammunition, which she left by the entrance, is missing. Levi suspects the creatures might be capable of strategic thinking, a theory that seems confirmed when they step outside and see the bag placed ahead of them, an obvious trap. Knowing visibility will be an issue, Levi and Drasa toss smoke grenades for cover. Drasa retrieves the bag, but as the smoke clears, a long root lashes out, wrapping around her leg and dragging her away at incredible speed. A root rider on horseback has seized her, carrying her into the darkness. She tries to shoot, but the erratic movement makes aiming impossible. She's dragged through sharp sticks protruding from the ground and is eventually knocked unconscious by a fallen tree stump. Levi races after them, following the trail until he finds a ruined missile silo leading underground. Inside, Drasa hangs unconscious from the ceiling. The Hollow Man revives her by twisting a branch embedded in her stomach before yanking it out. It sniffs the branch and turns to attack her, but Drasa kicks it in the chest and frees herself by unraveling the ropes binding her to the beam. She grabs a piece of metal as a weapon, but the Hollow Man overpowers her. A snake-like creature in its chest lunges at her, but even after being thrown to the ground, Drasa refuses to give up. Using her position cleverly, she immobilizes the Hollow Man, decapitates the snake, and hurls the metal at the creature. This only enrages it further, and it chases her around the room, slashing with its sword. Drasa uses bones as a shield and creates a torch from a nearby bonfire, setting the Hollow Man ablaze. As it screams in agony, Levi conveniently arrives and finishes it off with a well-placed shot. After a relieved embrace, Levi examines the creature's uniform and recognizes the name, Bradford, the first watcher of the Western Tower. He takes Bradford's sword and they press on, searching for an exit. They eventually reach the site of the initial toxin leak, where hundreds of dormant, mutated creatures are fused together into a massive tree-like organism, their faces barely visible in the sticky goo. As Levi and Drasa cross a bridge, Drasa accidentally steps on a root. When she tries to pull free, the creatures awaken, their bodies reaching for her. Levi uses the sword to cut the roots and free her, but they're quickly overwhelmed. In desperation, Drasa fires her grenade launcher, triggering a massive explosion that ignites the entire area. The creatures burn like dry leaves as Levi and Drasa scramble to climb out of the underground structure, escaping the inferno. Before long, they explore the town and stumble upon a garage filled with military jeeps, each equipped with a heavy-duty winch. After performing some quick repairs on one of the engines, they take off in the Jeep, driving until they reach the broken zipline at the eastern wall. With creatures closing in, Levi quickly ties the rope to the Jeep, while Drasa fires at the approaching Hollow Men. When she runs out of ammunition, they switch roles. Once the Jeep is ready, they begin their ascent up the wall. At first, the climb goes smoothly, but they soon notice the Hollow Men scaling the wall after them, attacking from all sides. They kick one off, and Levi uses his sword to fend off the others. Drasa grabs an axe from the toolbox and joins the fight, striking down more creatures. As Levi pins a monster against the wheels, Drasa deals with one that lands on the windshield and grabs her, forcing it to fall. Suddenly, a Hollow Man leaps at Levi, knocking him off balance. Levi barely manages to grab onto the Jeep, left dangling precariously. He stabs the Jeep's gas tank, causing fuel to leak out before pulling himself back up. He then lights a flare and hurls it at the creatures. The flare ignites the fuel, triggering a massive explosion that incinerates their pursuers, but also destroys the Jeep. The blast sends Levi crashing into the wall, breaking his leg. Drasa helps him up, and since they're closer to the top, they decide to cut the rope, letting the Jeep plummet onto the remaining Hollow Men below. Exhausted but determined, they climb the rest of the way using only their hands and feet, finally reaching the top of the gorge. They collapse inside the eastern tower, safe at last. After tending to their wounds, Levi and Drasa agree to quarantine themselves for 5 days to ensure they haven't been infected. Levi admits he was chosen for this mission because he had no one to live for, but now everything has changed. Drasa was targeted for this mission because her identity had been burned, and the Russian government, now viewing her as a liability, deemed her a loose end that needed to be eliminated. They make plans to escape together and decide to destroy the gorge to prevent its horrors from spreading and to stop the authorities from exploiting its secrets to create an unstoppable army. Drasa tells Levi about a secluded spot in France where they can hide after completing their mission. Before parting, they share a kiss, and Levi confesses his love for Drasa. Using a grappling gun, he launches himself back to his own tower. The next day, during their routine radio check-in, Levi's call is intercepted by Bartholomew. She has discovered that the lab computer was accessed and suspects someone entered the gorge. When Levi denies going down there, Bartholomew concludes that the soldier in the other tower must be responsible. She assigns Levi a new mission: to eliminate the other soldier. Levi pretends to accept the mission, ending the call. Unknown to Levi, the lab computer had a camera, and Bartholomew saw both soldiers in the gorge. She considers Levi a traitor and contacts a commander, instructing him to prepare a strike team to head to the gorge and eliminate the rogue soldiers. Bartholomew decides to lead the operation herself to ensure no one can reveal the gorge's secrets. The next morning, after Levi and Drasa plant bombs on the cloakers, Drasa writes, "I love you" back for Levi. However, a helicopter suddenly arrives at the western tower, shattering the moment. Levi realizes they've been compromised and shouts for Drasa to run. They both flee into the forest. Bartholomew finds the western tower empty and orders drones to search for them on both sides of the gorge. As Levi and Drasa run, they constantly check their distance from the Stray Dog Protocol activation point, 4.2 kilometers away. The drones relentlessly pursue them, firing as they flee. Levi, already injured from climbing out of the gorge, struggles to keep up. His situation worsens when debris from a tree shot down by a drone knocks him over, but he quickly recovers and shoots down a drone. Drasa takes out 2 more drones, and they push forward, running further from the facility. Once they reach higher ground, they take up sniper positions and deliver a perfect shot, destroying the cloakers. Thanks to the mines they planted earlier, a chain reaction begins, obliterating all the cloakers in the area. With the gorge now exposed, the Stray Dog Protocol is triggered. Sirens blare, and Bartholomew realizes what's happening. She gathers her soldiers, rushes to the helicopter, and orders them to fly away as fast as possible. Levi and Drasa also run for safety, but Levi's injured leg slows him down. The bombs detonate, destroying the entire area. Bartholomew's helicopter is caught in the blast and crashes, killing everyone on board. Meanwhile, Levi, still injured, struggles to escape. The force of the explosions throws him off a cliff and into a body of water below. Drasa, having executed the plan perfectly, watches from a safe distance, wondering if Levi survived. Drasa escapes and hides in a cave, waiting for Levi. After a month with no word from him, she decides to leave on her own. She arrives in France at their rendezvous point, hoping to see Levi, but he never comes. At sunset, she opens a letter he left for her in case he didn't make it. As she reads, she discovers a beautiful poem and tears stream down her face. 1 month later, Drasa starts a new life as a waitress in a restaurant. One day, while working, she notices someone watching her. When she turns around, she sees Levi sitting there. He explains that it took him a while to recover from his injuries. The two lethal snipers share a dark laugh, reminiscing about how Levi wasn't truly the world record holder behind the legendary shot in Yemen. It was Drasa all along. Yet, Levi had seized the title after his own astonishing feat, taking out the cloakers from an impossible distance. They share a passionate kiss, grateful to be reunited after enduring hell and surviving against all odds.